Did you ever wonder why some people get PTSD? Why don't more people have PTSD? More importantly, did you think, why do I have PTSD? What's wrong with me? Well, I'm here to tell you there's nothing wrong with you, and this is why. Join me inside, and I'll tell you all about it. My name is Valerie. I'm an energetic and spiritual healer helping people that are living with the effects of trauma to transform their lives from surviving to thriving. That's what I've done with my life. But I tell you what, it wasn't so long ago. Um, I had what they told me was delayed onset PTSD that erupted and pretty much turned my life upside down back in 2014. And I remember thinking at the time, why is this happening now? But really, why is this happening to me? Like at the time, I was thinking, my sister had it worse than I did. She was the older one. She suffered the definitely got the brunt of the abuse. Why do I have PTSD? And as I started to educate myself about it, looking into the research, it was mostly came about through the Veterans Administration, looking into what had previously been termed shell shock. How some people go to war, they send kids off to war, and they come back, and some of them are just like really messed up by it. And this is how it eventually came to be accepted in the culture, something that we talk about now. It seems like always increasingly more and more you hear about trauma and PTSD and CPTSD. PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, and CPTSD, which is complex post traumatic stress disorder, are a psychological, so it's mental and it's body, mind, and spirit. Um, but it's a manifestation that happens for some people, but not for everybody. One of the interesting statistics that I ran across lately in doing some reading on this is that this one study called traumatic experiences, which they term TE, they said TE is ubiquitous in the human population. That means like it's prevalent, it's everywhere. It's like almost like to come across somebody who's never experienced something traumatic. There's a word for those. I call them unicorns. They're that rare. Um, but they estimated this in this study that I was reading that 70% of people, some point in their life at one or more times, will encounter a traumatic experience. But only about 18 to 20% will develop PTSD. And I thought, God, that's weird. I guess still being in the victim mentality myself with this newly erupting and disrupting experience coming up in my life, I thought, there must be something really wrong with me that I can't just suck it up, toughen up, get over it. Um, and then I came across the work of Dr. Elaine Aron. Um, she has done some really fundamental research, really interesting stuff about what she has come to describe, or she coined the term HSP, the highly sensitive person. And since she first began doing her research back in the 90s, um, there's been a lot of research done by her and then others building on her work that there seems to be, and this is the other statistic, 18 to 20% of the people that experience trauma will go on to develop post traumatic stress disorder. In Elaine Aron's work, she found that 18 to 20% of any population, and they've found it in over 100 animal species as well, are what she terms highly sensitive. Like, coincidence? I don't think so. So, what is a highly sensitive person? Maybe you relate to this. I've come to realize, like, oh, I'm a highly sensitive person. That's why these events, these experiences in my life have had such a profound effect on me. why it's been incorporated into my neurological programming, the way my brain is wired, the way that my body works. Trauma is stored in our bodies. So it's not there's something wrong with you, it's that there's something that happened to you. And because you are a highly sensitive person, it has these deep and lasting effects. So the highly sensitive person is somebody that is more sensitive to their environment, to the people around them, to circumstances and situations. And this isn't something that's wrong. This is an evolutionary mechanism that is, if it was a defect, you wouldn't have 20%, 1 in 5 people. Evolution would have weeded out this trait long ago, but instead it seems to be supported and continued. What's the value of having 1 in 5 of a population being highly sensitive? These are the ones that cue into the subtle cultural, social, environmental, emotional signals that are all around us, the energy, the spirit, what's seen, but more what's unseen, and are able to perhaps foresee danger, to be on the lookout, to be the gatekeepers for the rest of the tribe, the herd, the clan, whatever. Um, the highly sensitive person is very highly sensitive to stimuli. We often find ourselves being overwhelmed. It's a form of neurodivergency, if that clicks with you. Um, it's the way our brains work. It's the way our wiring is within our bodies. We're very susceptible to being overwhelmed and overstimulated. You often find that the highly sensitive person needs to retreat. I thought it was also really interesting in Elaine Aron's work, something I was just reading yesterday. She said you would think that then HSPs, the highly sensitive person, they'd all be introverts, but they're not. They're just as equally distributed introverts and extroverts as in any population. But the highly sensitive person, even if they're extroverted, still finds that they need to remove themselves sometimes and just go, like, they need a quiet place. They need some downtime. If they're not aware of this propensity within themselves, they can easily become overwhelmed. The other trait of the highly sensitive person that I found fascinating is what she calls deep processors. We take things in and we process them on a very deep and holistic level. We're able to see connections, we're able to see the big picture, and we're also highly empathic. We can really sympathize and empathize with people. And because of this perceptivity that we have and this sensitivity that we have and this holistic way of understanding and deep processing, um, highly sensitive persons actually make really good managers and supervisors and leaders. If you think about the opposite of this, you might think of someone, like a narcissist would be the exact opposite of this. Um, how often these people, because of their charismatic style, get themselves into positions of leadership, but they really make awful, terrible leaders. So, the point I want to make is if you have PTSD or CPTSD, it's not because you're weak, it's not because you're too sensitive, it's not because you need to toughen up or get thicker skin or get over it. It's because you have assets, you have qualities that have evolutionarily been selected because it brings these gifts to the world. Being a highly sensitive person is an honor. And The drawback is that the highly sensitive person is not, or hasn't been, it's beginning to change because of the work of Dr. Aaron and others, Dr. Bessel Kolk and all his work with trauma. We're beginning to recognize and honor neurodivergency, diversity in general, diversity in environmental studies and ecology. There's a saying that diversity equals stability. We have gifts that not everybody has. It makes us susceptible to PTSD and CPTSD. But if the highly sensitive person is nurtured and given a safe place and told they're okay instead of constantly being told that there's something wrong with them, we have gifts for our community. We have gifts for humanity. There's another statistic that I wanted this video to be about 3 statistics, but I couldn't actually nail down the third one. So this one I'm just going to throw out there to you. If 18 to 20% of the people that experience trauma, and that's most people, if 18% of people that experience trauma get post-traumatic stress of one form or another, and 18 to 20% of people are highly sensitive, then it makes sense. I know correlation's not causation, but it makes sense to me that a highly sensitive person who hasn't been nurtured and developed and encouraged in their gifts and their strengths experiences trauma. They're going to be the ones to go on to get traumatic stress. And it also seems to me that these are the people that are the light workers of the world. So many people, I work with people with trauma. I am a person who has experienced trauma. And so many of us are the light workers of the world. We're the healers. We're the caretakers. We're the teachers. So I encourage you to go to your quiet place and do some deep processing and think about these things and see if that resonates. If you're interested in learning more, if you have questions, I would love to have your comments. Put them down in the comments section of the video. If you enjoyed this, found it interesting, hit like, hit subscribe. I'm posting weekly videos. And a link to my website is at the top of the description box below. If you think you're interested in, just want to know more about me, I've got a lot of stuff on my website. And I also offer sessions one-on-one. I do energy healing. And I'd love to hear from you. If not, that's cool. I hope to see you next time in about a week. Till then, peace. Namaste.